Connecting Cultures follows the life of foreigners in our country. Our program is true stories told by representatives of many nations living and developing in Kazakhstan, and for whom our country has become home. Today in program, Edward Henschel, a man who takes the running of a restaurant business and strives to familiarize people with the culture of different nations through his cuisine. One of the vitally important components without which a human being cannot exist is food. However, the nutrition process has long ago turned into a kind of culture, and many restaurant owners put a lot of effort to interest their visitors. Today in our program, we will find out what success in this walk of life Edward Henschel has achieved. Edward's native town is Göteborg, the second largest city in Sweden and the fifth largest one among the Nordic countries. The city is an important seaport, well known for its canals in the Dutch style and shady boulevards. Moreover, Göteborg is a popular cultural and sports center of Sweden that couldn't help influencing our hero. So being very active in childhood, Edward was keen on sporting disciplines such as tennis, hockey, football and bicycling. Edward, as you know, everyone warmly remembers their childhood years. Would you say that your childhood was unique?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's childhood is unique in some way or another. But I think I had two childhoods in this sense. One was really a bog standard Swedish childhood. And then, well, as soon as we left the country, it was suddenly a different world. I think my parents were eager to show me and my sister to my grandparents in Brazil, so already at 2 months old we traveled across the ocean and went to see our relatives. Wherever we went, there was suddenly a completely different experience, until even moving to Russia, where it was a completely different childhood from, for example, what all my friends had.
And how did such frequent travels to different countries influence your further life?
I think that really awoke some kind of sense of curiosity about the world. Well, as far as I can remember, I've never wanted to just stay in one place. I've always wanted to explore something. And from all of these travels, there was a hunger within me to... I don't know where it all goes, but I eat something incredible. I eat all the time, and I always want to eat something different. Like I'm not the kind of guy who can just settle for, you know, the same kind of food all the time. I live to eat, and I always want to eat something amazing, something different, and if I'm traveling, usually I'm traveling for that purpose.
What notable things could you tell us of your country and features of the culture?
I was always looking at Swedish culture from a different point of view as well. We didn't really have the most traditional Swedish family. My father's family was from Germany, and my father's born in Sweden, but then my mom came from Brazil, so I was born and raised in Sweden until 12. So Swedish traditions and culture was not always in our home. So every time I saw or experienced them in a very Swedish traditional way, it was always interesting as well for myself. As you say, you know, like midsummer, you build a huge flower cross and dance around it as if you're a frog, and you sing songs about frogs. It's huge in Sweden, really. Like, I suppose it's what you celebrate here called Nauruz. We only take 1 day off in Sweden, compared to the huge festivities here, which take 5 days, or basically the whole country shuts down, and everyone celebrates the fact that you have more sun than, or I suppose equal sun and equal day and night. Sweden's a very dark place, so as soon as the sun comes out, it's a celebration, you know.
And did your interest in restaurant business start because of your acquaintance with the cuisine of different nations, or were there any other reasons?
Yeah, you know, food is really the best way to connect people with each other's cultures. You find out so much about their way of life, their history from just eating either with someone or eating this person's national food or the food that they have in their country. This really left a strong impression in my life. My parents always put emphasis on this. There was always a subject about what's on the table. When my mom moved to Sweden, imagine coming to Sweden from Brazil, one of the most ingredient-rich countries in the world, to a northern European country in the 80s. There was not many different ingredients available, you know. I think every Brazilian is a lover of food deep down, and I mean it's very visible when you go there. Everyone is just as well living to eat. She became really creative to first of all cook for the family foods that were interesting and tasty and different. Seeing that, I think, creativity every day in the kitchen at home, it really just left an impression that made me who I am today.
Edward's acquaintance with peculiarities of the restaurant business began in his youth, when he was working for some time in a hotel in a city in Russia. Later on, our hero obtained knowledge and skills in trade that was useful in his further professional life. And an important role in establishing Edward as a restaurateur was played by his experience of staying in Brazil, where he assisted to his cousin, who was running 5 restaurants at that time.
Eventually, I decided to start studying, to try to get serious in life, to just go further. I found a hospitality management university in Dubai. Started studying all the different courses of a regular business degree, but focus on hospitality, and you know, I had to suffer through all the subjects that I really am not interested in. Finance and accounting. That's, I suppose, doing all these different subjects really sort of made me hone in on what I really wanted to do. In Dubai as well, I was working any odd job that I could find. After that, I really just stayed in hotels and restaurants. I never kept a job more than a year. I felt like I had experience from so many different places. You know, not that I took everything I could from one place, but I felt like I took just enough to be able to move on, and I never really stuck to one type of job. Let's say if I was working as a chef, I'd learn as much as possible from this particular restaurant, move on and maybe work as a restaurant manager. I think it was always sort of building up towards making my own business, which in this case was a restaurant.
Were there any gifts of the destiny in your life that dramatically changed it?
Yeah, 8 years ago I met my wife Sabina. Both of us were living in Dubai, and we were discovering someone else's culture. We didn't seem so, I suppose, so different in that sense, because we were just 2 foreigners living in a foreign country. But the more time we spent with each other, the more we traveled to each other's countries, the more it became clear that we are from completely different parts of the world. I think that really lit up this other interest in me as well, to find out what's going on in Kazakhstan. What's it like to live there?
I have been working with Edward for approximately 3 years or even longer. When I met him, he seemed a very strict and severe person. At first, I even was rather afraid of him. But when I got to know him better, I realized that he is a simple man. It's easy to communicate with him. It's possible to discuss with him any problems related to work or personal life. He always stands ready to offer advice and help in any way he can. He is a very cheerful person. In work, he is of course quite demanding, but we treat any problems with humor and never despond. After Edward's first restaurant was opened, we worked there for 2 years. Then we had to close it because of the move. So we were not working for approximately 9 months. I tried to work somewhere else and realized that it was not the same. I got used to work with Edward so much, and it was difficult for me to do it with somebody else. I worked for 2 months and decided that I would be waiting for him.
So how did your professional life develop in this country? Did you face any difficulties?
The idea of this restaurant really came through our, let's say, limitations of capacity at home. You know, we always had guests at home. I was always cooking something, so eventually it just became too tight, and you know, it's time to do something well in life really. I want to do a restaurant. I want to cook for people. I want to entertain. I want to have more space than we have at home, and that's where it all came from. We started building it. It was such a process, which we ended up doing a lot of the work ourselves. The full design and plan of it, the layout, the furniture. There was a lot of work. You know, choosing the name for a restaurant has turned out to be one of the most difficult things for me. A restaurant is something that everyone's going to visit. You know, a lot of people visit every day. You wanted to have some kind of relationship to your concept, to what you do and have done. So as we were doing everything with our hands, crafting this restaurant really essentially gave the restaurant its name.
In your opinion, what things in your profession are the most difficult and most enjoyable ones?
The most enjoyable parts are the most difficult parts. I don't think I got into this job because I liked the easy way. Then I would have taken employment and I would have done 9 to 6 and I would have gone home and I would have had dinner and I would have gone to sleep. But I've never been a big fan of a set schedule. You know, in this life I wake up, go to work, and I'm there until I go home and then try to just wind down and go to sleep to repeat the process. I love the whole process of making it what it's going to be for the guest in the end.
I came to apply for a job to Edward 3 years ago. He treated me as a son, so we immediately found common ground. He's responsive, kind. He always was kind to me and actually to all the staff. It can be said that we are a large Swedish family. When he's working, everything becomes not really clean, if to be honest. But it is fixable, and he's getting better. I'm always around him and try to support him in everything. For example, if he forgets or don't have time to do something, then that's what I'm here for. I remember everything, and I will always offer my hand to him. Edward is a fan of cuisine. He always creates something new. Every day we experience with new recipes and taste. We always try to have in our cuisine something different. We avoid sameness.
The most difficult question I get in this restaurant is, what kind of kitchen do you do? I don't like to call it so much fusion. It's more like multicultural comfort food, you know? It's the food that I've seen in my life, that I've loved in my life, that I want to eat every day. Exactly. If I like it, someone else must like it, you know? I just want to keep experimenting in the kitchen. That's when I'm the happiest.
Do you see your future in Kazakhstan?
Yeah, definitely. I see a future for myself here. There's a lot of things to do that are interesting for both me and I think for other people. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to try to move around in the region as well. Kazakhstan is such a huge country that developing in a very fast pace. And with that, I want to be part of and keep going.